Today is Saturday, June 6, 2015, and the precious metals kind of took a beating the last few days. So the question is, next week, will the beating further continue? Now, if you're a raw dog, he would hope so because he thinks beating the metals, spanking the metals is good for him. Spanking those precious metals will get them to behave better. So we spank them now so you get better behavior in the future. Okay, now, yeah, even rhodium is taking some downward movement. Rhodium often doesn't move. Rhodium at Kiko, the bid price is $1,005. I mean, look at the other precious metals. Look how rhodium is cheaper than platinum and gold, and rhodium is so much scarcer. It's mind-boggling how scarce rhodium is compared to the other precious metals. And yet, look at the price, which of course is another lesson in scarcity does not translate to price. I know years ago there was a big argument, or there's a big discussion about the gold to silver ratio will shrink because the ratio of gold to silver is like approximately 16 to 1 in the ground. So that means that the ratio should be 16 to 1 in real life. Well, let's look at the rhodium to platinum ratio, or the rhodium to gold ratio, and look at the prices. And it's been that way for a few years. Even when it wasn't that way, the ratio still wasn't close to the actual ratio in the ground, because human supply and demand is what determines the price, not nature's supply and demand. Hey, I just thought up the idea just right now as I was going. It's the humans' supply and demand, not nature's supply and demand, that determines a price. Okay, so next week we're going to kind of see. We're going to see what's going on. And I mean, will this gold to silver ratio, I mean, it fell some, like it was, in the 72s up to being 75s. Will it go higher? I mean, we're going to see next week. And of course, obviously, as I said in previous videos, it's not really what happens in a few weeks that most people are concerned about who watch these. It's what happens in a period of years that concerns them. So, a few videos ago, I was raving in a positive way about this 10th or 11th dimension video channel called 10th Dim, right? Because a lot of the videos caused me to think ways I have never thought before about visualizing multiple dimensions, and I thought it was pretty good. So I did some further research because, 80% of people out there will not do the further research. It will sound good and they're going to stick with that. Well, I went further and I saw that another one of my favorite channels, Minute Physics, was attacking this channel for having errors and having bad science. And I had liked both channels, and my idea was, wow, maybe this guy at 10th Dim will go ahead and fix his errors so he can make error-free videos. Because I think that his visualization and presentation about extra dimensions is a very valuable tool in abstract thinking. That's why I was really impressed. It was the abstract thinking. And he doesn't have to present like, quote, hard science. He can say, hey, I'm thinking about a what if here. I'm not calling this hard science, but, imagine this. This is an exercise in expanding your brain. And that'd be great. But no, what happened was he did the reverse. He doubled down on and dug his heels in. He doubled down on stubbornness. And he did 10 videos trying to, he spent so much of time in videos arguing with the Minute Physics, or saying the Minute Physics is wrong, and da-da-da. And it's like, if you got some errors in your videos, just fix the errors, make new videos, but keep the concept, because the concept was giving him tons and tons of views. And what this did is it made me lose a lot of respect for 10th Dim, because I'm wondering, it's like, when his errors are pointed out, instead of saying, hey, Minute Physics, you pointed my errors out, I want to do it right. So I'm going to fix the errors, and I'm going to do it right, and I want to have your scientific input so I can have good science in my videos. Instead, he did the opposite. He turned himself into a fanatical anti-science channel, and he just made video after video after video after video obsessing over this Minute Physics, who was saying that he had some bad info, and it's like, wow. It's like, man, maybe and what that did is it started making me question, maybe the guy doesn't know what he's talking about at all. Because you have wrong science and it's pointed out, and you don't fix it, and instead you try and argue with the guy giving you the right science, and it makes me really wonder, and the credibility is completely lost about what this guy is saying. It's a shame because, the guy's visualization, the guy kind of opened my mind about thinking about how other dimensions might appear, and he could have left it at that instead of trying to make it like a science channel. And now he's trying to say, yes, I really, I don't know. It just kind of blew up in his face, and he probably doesn't even realize how much credibility he lost, and he probably has some diehard fans who are, just digging their heels in with him as well. And I'm sure there's a parallel here somewhere. I don't know. Maybe is there a parallel here somewhere? I don't know. But anyhow, this is one of those cases where I didn't stop because I liked what he had to say, and I want to believe what he had to say. I looked further and said, oh, as much as I like to hear what he has to say, he's really making himself look like he doesn't know science. And that's not a problem. If an amateur does videos, they're well received, and they have some good ideas, but they get some science wrong, it's okay to say, hey, I got some of the science wrong. I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to try and make scientifically accurate videos, and then I'm going to say, this right here is a kind of like a pseudoscience or science fiction-esque channel. Because a lot of our science fiction shows like Star Trek and whatnot are very popular, and they don't pretend to be real science, but they don't have to pretend to be real science to be popular and successful. So, yeah, we're going to see what's happening with the metals next week, but I'm still waiting for a few indicators to come into me that I haven't seen yet, so I'm still waiting to hear to see some things. I haven't seen them yet, so, but my final point is that when you have misinformation and people are acting on it and trading on it, it means that their odds are a lot worse than they think, right? If somebody thinks that they're right 90% of the time, and it turns out that they're wrong 10% of the time, that means they're going to get taken to the cleaners. But guess what? 10% of the time, they might actually be correct. And my final thought is with these markets, right? You hear the Shemitah thing, I'm not pronouncing it right? Where every 7 years, right? Well, that word I've only heard recently. I haven't heard that word before. When you get new terminology that pops up like this, it's like, it's really suspect. But if the people who are repeating this don't have any money to invest, then they could be right because they would not be making any gains on their predictions, right? If these people are making predictions and they can't make money from their predictions, then maybe they could be correct, but I wouldn't bet the farm on it. But this is a thought I'm still trying to formulate and think and kind of reflect on. So I'm just going to leave it off with there. So thanks for watching. Next week we're going to see where these metals are headed.